Let's start. Hello, everybody. My name is DJ Paradis. I'm the content coordinator for the ASLC.
I'm Nicole Abuid. I'm the public relations chair for Game Committee.
My name is Brittany Duffey. I'm the events chair for Game Committee here at FSU.
And I'm Josh Durham. I am just one of the older members in the Game Committee, and I do a little bit more work with the Film Committee now.
Cool. So the specific reason that I have so many people from Game Committee here today is because for this episode of the Sleeze, we will be talking about E3 from 2019. So let's roll on into it, starting with the first podcast. Conference. EA was the first conference. Do you guys have anything that stuck out to you personally?
I didn't really watch the EA one because that was on a different day, and I just didn't really bother. I looked at some of the highlights. It didn't look great. It looked interesting. It was just more Sims and other EA things, and it was like, all right, that's not really anything that I deal with too much.
Sports games.
Yeah, legitimately. Like, if there's anything EA can guarantee is they always come up with the same Madden, the same FIFA. Oh, but this time it's more photorealistic and, the movements are more accurate.
You can see more drops of sweat on the guy after he kicks a goal.
You can taste it.
Oh God. Well, that's the next-gen console. It's Project Scarlet. You can taste
4D.
it. I love it.
Everything comes with, the theater screen and, the moving chairs.
Yeah, you have to buy the, mist sprayer for the front of you. You're like, I'm literally sweating.
No.
To me, the biggest thing was just Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was cool looking, and who knows?
I mean, so here's the thing. So I've played a lot of Star Wars games, and while I'm thinking that Respawn, sorry, not Rareware.
Yeah, Respawn.
I think Respawn, they're definitely good. They're a good company. They've got a good handle on things. My main thing is just depending on how EA does the meddling with it, questionable. But so far, it looked pretty interesting. If it comes back up in conversation, I'm sorry. I'm going to be comparing it to Force Unleashed a lot because that's the other big stick out Star Wars game that's single player, and it's just I played both of them.
Mm-hmm. To me, the clear difference between Force Unleashed and Jedi Fallen Order, beside being a good guy first, no spoilers, I guess, is
you cracked the code.
It's slower.
Oh yeah.
And I sort of like that. I don't want to compare it to the latest God of War in any way, but the pacing of what he was doing was on a similar level, but I'm who knows at this point,
I will say, so in terms of immediate comparisons, I think it's probably the closest that I've heard, and this is one I've heard through Kotaku, Polygon, PC Gamer. A lot of those things were kind of comparing it closer to something like Uncharted or Last of Us, and I get that feel. What I think might be better, because the thing they showed is actually a mission that's barely to right on the cusp of halfway through the game. So I'm assuming that a lot of the stuff in there was kind of just to get a feel for it, but I have a feeling that if Respawn does as well as they have with things like Titanfall, they're definitely going to be doing a good job at kind of immersing in the world and making things a bit more challenging, because that was what was great about Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
See, I've already brought it up. That Force Unleashed, it's it wasn't difficult necessarily. It was just the world design and the way that the paths kind of branched. Even though it was a fairly linear game, it gave you a reason to kind of look through all the nooks and crannies. And
yeah.
I haven't seen a massive thing for this one yet, but here's hoping.
Did any of you play Titanfall Single-Player 1 or 2?
Yes.
What'd you think of Titanfall Single-Player?
I prefer single player. I mean, I understand it's you can not do that. Just usually when I play games, it is alone in my room in the dark. So I don't have anything to compare it to particularly. Obviously 2 is a little bit smoother.
Yeah.
But it works well. But going back kind of more to Fallen Order, I know that we were kind of branching off from Fallen Order into the comparison with that, but it actually didn't. It was promising, but at the same time, like the trailer was a little bit shaky, just with like enemy fighting and stuff like that. It looked a little too easy, so I'm just hoping that what they showed in the gameplay and in the trailer is just what we're gonna get from the alpha and not the polished product.
Yeah, or like early game.
Yeah, just like showing you the ropes. Because otherwise, if that's the whole game, I would play it for the droid, but not as much for the gameplay, I don't think, or like the puzzles, because it was just like pull this, and it's like okay, yeah.
Yeah, the like I have my fingers crossed for it because it's Respawn, and Respawn did, in my opinion, Titanfall 2 is one of the best single player like FPS stories that I've ever experienced. But it is EA, so you never know, because EA publishes weird, and that strong arm from above can change a game. So.
I will say the very good thing was if you watched any of the after press coverage, there's a bunch of things that they highlighted that unfortunately didn't have the chance to or just weren't able to show. One of them being things like the droid is customizable, so
that's cool.
He will look different.
Wait, is the guy customizable?
The guy has. They didn't touch on it too much. I'd assume that his gear is probably customizable. But what I do remember them saying was that there was things like all the alpha stuff will definitely be cleaned up, because it's like if you saw the Wookiee at the very end, it's like that looks like an early PS3 graphic right there. But they did say that this is the one thing that kind of gives me more hope for it, is that the game is not built on the Frostbite engine. It's built on Unreal Engine.
Oh.
Which is a big thing, because if y'all have any chance or like get a chance to look into EA's, not past necessarily, it's like their practice. They usually make their games run specifically on the Frostbite engine because they think it's easier, but that leads to complications. That's like what happened with Anthem. It's one of the big problems with it.
Did you see that cringy interview with the Anthem creator?
Which one?
I mean, yeah, that's true. I'm talking about the one with Greg Miller from Kind of Funny.
I did see that one.
Yeah, no comment. I mean, honestly, I think we can move on from EA. EA did something that I hate when they do, is they announce a season 2 to an everlasting game. So they did that with Apex, and then they announced like more maps for Battlefield and like a chapter 5. It's like, cool, thank you, more Battlefield, but like, I don't care. Anyway, you guys want to talk?
Game to last for 10 years.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's talk about Microsoft/Xbox. Anything that stuck out to any of you guys?
Beyond Keanu Reeves.
So Cyberpunk.
Lego car.
Honestly.
I don't even know. My brother was very much looking forward to that and told me that basically nothing good came from Microsoft other than like Cyberpunk. I don't know. They didn't come with their A game. And for some unknown reason, I got confused that Microsoft and like Xbox was not the same. The same thing. I was like, oh yeah, that's not the same thing. It was just it's whack.
They did show a lot of stuff we just already knew about. And I think that's why Microsoft came off as lackluster. I liked their press conference.
I did too.
Cyberpunk looks amazing. This is weird, but I watched a Video Game Donkey video on E3, and he was talking about comparing like Cyberpunk to other open world games, and he hopes, and I hope, that it benefits from being open world.
It's actually really interesting now that like a bunch of celebrities are becoming, video game like
associated
actors. Yeah,
models.
like who is the guy from Walking Dead? That is
Daryl.
Yeah, Daryl.
Daryl. What? That's his in-game, not in-game.
Yeah,
in Walking Dead name.
What
is his real
but
name?
He's in a couple games. I know. I'm not sure.
I'm
not sure if they're done by Microsoft. Probably not. I forgot the games themselves. But Keanu and like Rami Malek was in Until Dawn.
Yeah.
And just it's really cool.
So was what Hayden Panettiere was.
Yeah,
also.
like I guess it kind of like it shows that video games are like movies and we're actually good.
I have a theory about the like voice acting strike, which I apply to why we see more regular stars, quote unquote, in video games now. But let's not get into that. I mean, Gears 5 looks interesting. I'm not a huge Gears fan. I kind of fell off of it.
Sorry, John Bernthal. I completely
John
forgot his name.
Bernthal.
John Bernthal is the guy.
Daryl Dixon.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, he's doing John Bernthal's the guy in like Ghost Recon.
Oh.
The guy with Death Stranding.
That's no game.
Norman Reedus.
Yeah, that's Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
Thank you. That would have killed me.
Norman Reedus and the Funky Fetus.
Yeah, exactly. The game that sounds like a travel mission, just like one travel mission. Because rip Sony, right?
Wow.
One kind of thing to go back to, like, to get back onto the Microsoft and the Cyberpunk stuff. So I kind of did follow up afterward and saw what was happening. And this is something I'll bring up when we get back to the Square Enix. But the what was it? The actual demo that a lot of the kind of press got to play afterward. There was a little bit of skepticism behind it, and don't get me wrong, I want the game to do absolutely fantastic, and everyone knows, like, CD Projekt Red is a good company.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that I'm seeing, or one thing that I saw happen, was a lot of the game seemed a lot more tailor-made than something like the Avengers game, because what I noticed being reported on was that a lot of people got a chance to play 2077,
Mm-hmm.
and they said, hey, we think that the presentation was a little bit cleaner than the actual game that we got, whereas with Square Enix, the Avengers game didn't look the best, but then people actually got a chance to play it, and it was smooth, and it was fun.
Oh, people played that game?
Yeah.
It didn't seem like there was any gameplay. Or am I thinking of something else?
There's like a influencer, like the...
Got it.
Yeah, that kind of thing. They got a chance to go back and play the demo.
Okay. Sort of like last year's Cyberpunk thing where influencers got an hour or whatever, but nobody else saw it until...
Oh, yes.
Right.
I want to list off some stuff that, like, we knew was coming and sort of get your thoughts on any new information we like or don't like about it. Gears, I said. Cyberpunk, I said. Halo Infinite. Ori and the Will-O-Wisp. Yes. Borderlands 3 we knew was coming. Psychonauts 2. And there was one other big one. Let me scroll to this list. State of Decay 2 I feel like we've seen every year for like 3 years now.
Dying Light.
Oh, sorry, Dying Light 2, not State of Decay. That's something else.
It's the other two.
Yeah, it's the other two.
It's the slightly more degraded 2 in the logo.
Yeah. What do you guys think of any of those?
Wait, Ori is... I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, Ori and the Will-O-Wisp.
Whoa, I take back everything about Microsoft. My brother was wrong. That is so cool. I haven't played the original Ori game, but it's because I don't have a console, and I really think it's just so beautiful and unique, and I don't know anything about it other than the art is gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. It's on Steam now, too.
Oh, my God.
You
It
should
just
play
kind of
It's
gives
so
me, like,
good.
I like games with magical creatures. It just looks like a Ghibli film, but into a game.
Mm-hmm.
But I could be wrong about everything. It could be a terrible game, and I don't know, but I think that it's great. So
I loved the first Ori. Did any of you play it?
I played the first Ori.
Yeah, it's so good. It's beautiful. It's got a great story.
I think, actually, it almost seems like the art design got, like, doubled in quality, because I saw some of the background art, and, like, the Ori games, the original one's great, but there's that one shot in the trailer where it's the great owl, like, kind of flying in the background. It's like, they animated that, and they were able to put that as a backdrop for this already very beautiful foreground.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I won't have any money.
Yeah. I mean, it just like the one scene with the spider or whatever that comes up to her, like it's worlds past what it was before, and it was already beautiful. I'm excited. Ori 1 broke my heart. Ori 2 will probably break my heart. So
It looked amazing. What was the first one you said again?
the first one I just listed.
Yeah.
I said Cyberpunk, Halo Infinite.
Oh, Halo is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually, like, no one knows what's happening there. You don't need to. It looks good. He pulls a gun out of nowhere. That's just what happens.
Wait, he does?
Yeah.
I thought he grabbed it from the side.
They show the model, and he's literally in just like a holding rack, and there's nothing around him, no like loose wires or anything. And he turns on, lifts his arm up, and there's just a gun.
Well,
That's just what happens.
Can
It
we-
just be like that.
Can we talk about the crowning achievement though of the Microsoft one, where they're talking about Project Scarlet and they're going over the hardware details?
Oh,
and
yeah.
that one guy who goes, he's like, well, we've got like this patented new system of both our SSD and our renowned solid state drive, and everyone that we're in the room with that were watching this whole conversation, just no one holds it together. Everyone just starts snickering because
it's both. It's one thing.
Yeah.
we have two, but we're gonna sound smart. Possibly.
Me meeting word count like.
I honestly hoped we were gonna see more of Project Scarlet, not just like people talk about it. Because if they had done like, let's see a little bit of the hardware and also the Elite Controller 2, that would have been like a cool like, look at our next gen stuff, we're almost ready for you sort of reveal. But
I'm not entirely surprised or not. I wish it would have, because it's like for me to say something is like really, really good, I want to see proof of it. I want to see like it'll catch my interest, sure, but it's like for me to really be invested in it and see more about it, I want to see kind of the specs and the details. And while I hope Scarlet does well, I think what's happening, and this is if we do like a big general discussion at the end of E3, I think it's kind of Microsoft starting to slowly pull away from E3 and a lot of the stuff they're doing, and probably going more towards the Nintendo side where they have like a pre-programmed direct, especially if how the actual Scarlet presentation went down. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where they go for it.
yeah, who knows? E3 has gone through so many changes through its like life cycle, becoming a press event and then not a press event and then a consumer event and then a press event again. It's like you need to pick one.
You can say it's no longer a consumer event. We got no problem with that.
Yeah. Honestly, though, I think it works better as a consumer event, because press tours, because of the way the internet works now, you don't have to have everybody in one place to do press tours. That's what Nintendo does, but they still show up with games and be like, "Look, play our games." So I think Nintendo already caters the way they do it to consumers, and just has their own extra thing. But they're like, well, if not a million, but if like this many thousand people are going to be there, we want them to touch our games. We want them to play it because they'll more than likely buy it.
Yeah.
Word of mouth is like the best way to sell.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if it's just like a couple of, if it's like a couple of gaming papers or like gaming articles that get access to these things.
Yeah.
Oh, did it go flat?
Oh no, I'm just saying you can be a little louder.
Okay. Yeah, if it's just a couple of journalists like getting access to these things, it's like, okay, but we see articles all the time from people that get paid to say things, or they have a little bit bias towards certain companies over others. So really word of mouth and testing it for yourself is the best way to do it. So I don't know about the future of companies that refuse to do that, and keep making it about the sensationalism and about the press when they can't prove it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a thing we deal with every E3, where it's like, yes, this looks beautiful, but it's definitely just a vertical slice of a game. So who knows what it's gonna look like.
Just
Square Enix is
I'm
like
not really
staring
sure.
at you.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure what it's called, but I guess like when it's like not actual gameplay.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, this looks really amazing, but it's not
gameplay.
actual gameplay. So that's just how I was convinced to buy like really cool video games, or like how my brother was when we were younger. We're like, this looks amazing because the trailer looks amazing, and it's a bit different than like a movie, because that's what an actual movie looks like. But the gameplay is more like an animated film. No fake gameplay. But yeah, also speaking of like how things get popular, I know like YouTube reviewing and just like popular YouTube channels like
Let's Plays and stuff.
Yeah, Let's Plays just kind of convince people to get the game, and whether it's good or not, and they're not getting sponsored by it, but it's just, if it's more genuine that way than like IGN. I don't know.
IGN giving the rating from 7 to 10 because it's always just either like in that range. I don't think any
out, you cowards.
Yeah, legitimately. Like give a game a 2. Even what was it? No Man's Sky got like a 6 something.
It's like a 6.5, I think.
And the early game was empty. That's a moot point. Sort of jumping back to Xbox. I'm actually low-key interested in Minecraft Dungeons or Minecraft Diablo.
Oh my god.
I think it looks kind of good.
I know everyone kind of messes with Minecraft story mode, and it's like full understanding of it, but I mean, the way it looked, and they actually, even though it was kind of small clips, they did kind of show how it worked.
Mm-hmm.
The dungeon crawl is kind of a hard genre to mess up, and they have the definite visual style, so
Yeah,
just hoping.
it makes it different enough that it looks special.
It looks really spooky, and that means I like it. So
Yeah, I'm down for it. Sounds like you had a change of heart on Microsoft during this
yeah,
conversation.
I guess so. It's just from like what I heard, like from like just people memeing it online, which also has to speak on like the power of
Lego
media
car.
and
Lego
press and whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that much about what Microsoft came out with.
Mm-hmm.
Other than Keanu Reeves, which just big meme, and also that other person who's creating that girl, and I don't know her name, and that's terrible that I don't
In
know
Bethesda?
her name. Yeah, what's the game that
She's making. Well, I'm assuming we're about to start on Bethesda. 'Cause
Yeah. That's a good transition point.
Okay.
Let's talk about Bethesda. Go for it.
Yeah, the Japanese girl.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was
That
Bethesda's
Bethesda's
are you talking about
publishing it.
Nintendo or?
She's thinking of Ghostwire.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah, they're Bethesda's publishing it, but it's their own studio. I forget the name of the studio off the top of my head, but Ikumi Nakamura is who you're thinking of.
Wow.
Okay.
And she was head artist on Okami. She did a bunch of like character art for a bunch of. I think she did some work in Dragon Age, if I remember right. But she's done a lot of like.
God bless Dragon Age.
There you go. But she's done a lot of work, and it's good to see her finally getting some respect, especially because it's like, I don't know if y'all have played Okami, but that's a pretty game right there.
Mm-hmm.
It is beautiful.
I was just in general with Bethesda. I was a little like, with their whole press conference, but that's how I've been for the past 2 years with them.
I mean, that's how everyone
Where
is. Like I don't know. There is like some tea, about just like the guy screaming. I'm pretty sure that was the Bethesda conference, right?
Yeah.
And then,
It sounded like they like hired hype.
no,
men.
and then I don't know. I heard someone just like a lot of their audience is like bought out. People, that's a theory that people have been saying, because nobody actually likes their games. Or
No
whatever,
shade, but like,
I don't know if Fallout is good. But
who knows?
Um,
We're not making any claims here. We're just making observations.
Where are the bags, Todd? Where are they?
What are the numbers, Mason? What are the Mason? Oh, never mind.
I
struggled.
was actually mentioning because Nicole brought it up. There was a thing. There were a bunch of like posts and like on things like Reddit and 4chan where they said, "Hey, I'm actually a guy who works at Bethesda. You can find my name." Yeah, I saw about 30 or 40 of my coworkers there, and I think the guy who was shouting got like a free copy of Doom Eternal or something, and then there was this one. I'm very much speculating. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was like they found out he did like some auxiliary work for Bethesda or something. It's just like I don't know about that.
That sounds sketchy.
I mean, everyone always on the Bethesda. Everyone
You're
talks
good.
badly about the Bethesda conference, but Arcane consistently brings out good games.
That's
and
true.
So, kind of unfortunately for them, Arcane is partnered with Bethesda, so everything they make has to be published through Bethesda. But Arcane makes good games, and I am really, really excited to see their work on Wolfenstein Youngblood
Yes.
and Deathloop. Deathloop looks really interesting. And you can tell, like, I didn't even realize it was Arcane until they came out, but I saw the physics and the model motions for Wolfenstein, and I was like, wow, that looks really familiar. That looks like Dishonored 2, and then Arcane came out. I was like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, those were the two games that stuck out to me as like, okay, cool. They did bring something. Even before Bethesda, I was making jokes like they're gonna walk in and be like, "Hey, we made Fallout 76 a game now," and they literally did that.
NPCs in. What a groundbreaking design.
Battle Royale.
Yeah, and they're about a year too late on Battle Royale.
Do
But
you guys like dragons?
yeah, legit.
No, actually, there was.
That was the whatchamacallit? Elder Scrolls Online. Do you guys like dragons? That was the whole thing.
No, there was the like I mentioned earlier, but it's like I want to see actual evidence for it. So it's like the Ghostwire stuff looks interesting. Deathloop looks interesting. Youngblood, I want it to be good. I loved the first Wolfenstein. The second one, that's a pretty big negative for me. But the third one, depending on how they go about it, they look like they're going more towards just like go nuts, go crazy, and that's what I liked about the first one. So
I totally agree with you on that.
I believe this is the first Wolfenstein that Arcane specifically is working on too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just okay. I like Arcane. I'm excited.
I agree with you. I think Arcane does make good games. It's the same. It's like the same thing I always said with Respawn. Like I love Respawn, but I'm afraid of EA.
same.
Exactly.
And I think it's the same boat. I love Arcane, but right now I'm afraid of Bethesda because of what they're doing. I do love Bethesda games typically. To me they've been lackluster recently.
I feel like they've been relying on the fact that they can still sell because they're Bethesda and they made a name for themselves earlier on. They established themselves as like a well-loved company, and I think they're kind of cruising on that while they're kind of a little creatively challenged maybe.
I am fully of the mindset that Bethesda's been resting on the laurels of Daggerfall and Morrowind for like the last 10-15 years.
Yeah. Honestly, every single time they come to E3, I always have the same thought. Like, give it a year. Like, just wait 1 year, and then come back, or like skip 2020. Yeah. And then come back in 2021 and show us actual gameplay for the stuff you want. You're releasing soon. Please. Yeah, not a JPEG, not a video with a logo on top of it, and like you can still give us the cinematic trailers, but be like, here, look how awesome this game is. Here's the game, because that's one thing that I think Nintendo always does well, and a couple other people. But
and to give EA the smallest amount of credit, they were at least willing to work with Respawn to use a different engine. They're using Unreal Engine 4 for Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Bethesda, I get like familiarity with the old system, but when your coding is being held together by essentially metaphorical gum, tape, and prayers, maybe it's time to go on to another. Maybe it's time to try out another engine. Maybe it's time to give it another shot.
Can we talk about Grandma Spy? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Watch Dogs 3.
Yes.
We're gonna skip two stadium
conferences. Honestly, jump to Ubisoft.
Yeah, I am so excited for Watch Dogs 3. That it looked really good. They gave us a solid amount of gameplay. Out of Ubisoft, I think that was their most promising presentation. It comes at like branching storylines in a totally different way. It's something we haven't really seen before. It's like choose your own adventure in a way like other games haven't even touched on. I'm really excited to see it.
There's a lot, like if they go about it in a lot of different ways, there's a lot they can do with it. Like, because one thing that stuck out to me is they had the moment where your first character dies, but right before he dies, he has the option to surrender. So I could imagine like you have a character that you really like for one aspect of whatever, and then he gets in a fight and he gets arrested. It'd be cool if that opens up a mission to attempt to break him out of jail or something like that. So then it doubles down on the fact that you're building a Assassin's Creed-esque brotherhood, but you actually control them as opposed to just like sending them on missions.
Exactly.
I will say, I played the original Watch Dogs. For all its faults, it was a solid game once you actually got past. It's like it's not as pretty as everyone wanted it out to be. Second one, a little more sketchy. I know people who love it. I know people who hate it. I found it fine. I found it passable. This new one, Legion, it's the concept is not inherently new, but I'm glad they're bringing it into the modern age. There's a one game that really did it fantastically back in the day, called Omicron, the Nomad Soul. Like that whole concept of permadeath and you just build whatever you want. They did that first, and that was a great idea. So it's like if you can properly implement that, and you can make London like a really fairly believable city, I'm all for it. I hope it does well.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I don't think permadeath definitely isn't like a new concept, but the idea of you can recruit anyone. You can like every character is a playable character. I'm really interested to see what they do with that and how they like can flesh out the lives of so many NPCs until they become, player characters.
Yeah, I'm genuinely curious how many voice actors they have for a game like this, because I'm afraid of a Skyrim situation where it's 7 voice actors, and you're like, cool, I've heard this same dude talk to me 10 times today, but he's been 20 bodies. Like
Matt Mercer voices 1/3 of the entire population of London.
Yeah.
I mean, I
God.
wouldn't mind like the same voice actor, even if it's like noticeably the same voice actor, if they're different people.
Yeah, I can see that. What else from Ubisoft? Did anybody else have anything that stuck out to them?
Interesting, but again, it's one of those things where it's like I got to see more about it. And a little bit of the goodwill has faded because of how many times YouTube advertised it. Gods and Monsters.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I know it's from the same team who did Odyssey, which is like half the team from Origins, and then like a bunch of other people who are like stepping into the Assassin's Creed stuff. It's definitely interesting. I like the fact that Ubisoft's finally going away from like the super realistic art style and trying some other stuff out, kind of going back to like the Rayman days.
Yeah.
But it looks interesting. I want to see a little bit more. I want to see them build off of it, but yeah.
I did enjoy. I think Origins and Odyssey are both very good Assassin's Creed games. And separately, I think they are good games in and of themselves. The way they did the RPG elements was solid and built upon the slight garbage fire that was Unity. I mean, because that had different issues, like online issues. I'm interested in Gods and Monsters.
A small thing on like the Unity thing. So this is not like knocking or praising any of the games, but there was a guy who went through and he looked at all of like the animations, and he found that like Unity, like a couple months after launch up and like where it is basically now, actually runs smoother than Odyssey.
Oh, that's crazy.
Like the animations snap a lot harder in Odyssey, and it's just like it runs a lot smoother in Unity. So there were just a bunch of people who got like the free copy after the Notre Dame fire, and they're like, why does this look really clean?
Yeah.
For a game that came out in 2014.
That's valid. I just remember it having like horrible online matchmaking issues or like crazy lag because it tried to force, like that was the whole generation that was like get a fire team or quote unquote fire team and go do things. So
yeah.
Anything else? Breakpoint looks good. It looks like better.
Contagion.
No, sorry, the Ghost Recon Breakpoint.
Oh yeah.
It looks like better
The roller
Wildlands.
derby game.
Yeah.
It seems kind of fun.
John Bernthal.
I've never thought that I'd get a game about roller derby, but like,
Here we are.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was intrigued with that too. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not a huge sports game fan. I've played FIFAs. That's about it. Who knows?
It's a less bloody version of Rollerball from Alita.
Honestly, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Also, we're getting like a movie from The Division, apparently. Like Jake Gyllenhaal is like leading a film adaptation of The Division, but like there hasn't been an update. But like I heard about that, even though there hasn't been an update.
Yeah. I remember hearing rumors about that forever ago. I haven't seen anything like you said.
I just watch anything with Jake Gyllenhaal in it.
Well, and genuinely, The Division as a story, I think is a cool story. It's a cool concept. I liked the first game. I thought it got even better the longer it lasted. I haven't played the second one. It looks good, and they're creating more content, I believe. They had some stuff at E3. Who knows? I mean, regardless, a movie looks cool.
I haven't played any Tom Clancy games, so I have nothing to say about all 500 Tom Clancy games that are coming out. But for people that like Tom Clancy content, you know, go wild.
Good on you.
Go crazy, go stupid.
Wait, did you never play Splinter Cell?
I haven't.
Wow. That's
I
okay.
haven't played a single Tom Clancy game.
I forgive you.
How does he keep making so many games?
Well,
He
Tom
is
doesn't.
dead.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
He writes books. Or
He's
wrote
dead.
books. He wrote books, I guess.
Big old asterisk.
He needs to be stopped.
Well, never mind. People need to stop using his name.